understands as full ownership is something vastly different from her own. And he is dangerous. While the bargain between them sees to it that her young children are well fed, and that she is showered with extravagances she's gone without, it is at an unimaginable expense. Isolated by her role as his slave, she struggles to define herself as a mother, a stepmother, and wife. When both of her sanity and life are threatened, it is through her children's love that Robyn discovers her worth and what a child truly needs from their mother. This chapter begins just after he has proposed to Robyn by throwing a diamond ring at her head and subjecting her to a humiliating public display of servitude at a high-end restaurant in the city. Because of the nature of their previous agreement and Robyn's fears that she and her children, Janelle and Alan, will be left poverty-stricken again, she agrees to the marriage he insists must take place immediately. The children, Matthew and Susan, are his by a previous marriage, and Alan and Janelle are hers. The day every girl dreams of. I spent the last few minutes before my wedding contemplating how to jump out of the sports car he was driving. At 30 miles per hour, I was sure to get hurt, although he might hit the brakes in alarm as I unexpectedly opened the door. Could I do a stuntman roll, timing it so that I missed the curb, landing in the soft, wet grass of the vacant lot ahead? Would it be better to wait until he slowed to turn the corner, or would I risk getting run over? Would the cars behind us notice and stop to avoid me? Should I wait for a light and dodge 4 lanes of traffic? Could I run fast enough in my velvet dress and high heels to even escape? How would I survive on the pack of gum, the lipstick and wallet in the tiny purse I had with me? Would he cancel my credit cards and block my bank account? Where would I go? Seeing City Hall ahead, I clasped my hands tightly in my lap. The urge to run pounded me in waves, a hiccuping impulse to escape. My palms itched for the feel of the metal door swinging open, the way the rushing air would grab at it, pulling the door all the way open with me following it outward, grasping at the handle. I could already feel the warm, uneven asphalt underneath me as I rolled, the way the sky and ground would streak by in a kaleidoscope of color, gravel smelling of oil embedding in my skin. My ears were already reaching for the chaotic blare of horns and brakes squealing in disbelief, and his angry screams above it all. I didn't want to marry him, and I was kidding myself about why I wasn't sure. Hey, I cleared my constricted throat. Can we talk for a minute? My voice sounded small and childish, a stuttering squeak. We were arriving in the parking lot, and I was rapidly losing my opportunity. It was nearly too late. I would have to run for it. I wondered if the police station on the corner would grant me refuge like a medieval church, welcoming sinners. There are your parents and the kids. He waved boisterously to a group of figures on the sidewalk who mirrored the gesture stiffly like puppets. Matthew and Susan wore wide smiles and stood apart from the others. As we pulled into the parking space, I couldn't take my eyes off Alan and Janelle. They stood behind their grandparents as if the wind was blowing and they needed protection from it. What if this was my last chance to see them? If I ran away, my parents would have to turn them over to their father. Even though he wouldn't want to care for them full-time, he would give them the stability and security I had struggled to provide. I would have to stay away. The man sitting next to me would never allow me to go. He would never play the heartbroken, jilted bridegroom left at the altar to the pitying condolences of family and friends. He was a hunter. I knew this for certain. He would never allow me out of his reach unless it was on his terms. He would find me and convince me I was mistaken. He could be very convincing. Catching and keeping me was part of his pleasure. My resistance appealed to him. It was a game for him to win. If I ran, he would enjoy the chase, knowing that he would bring me home again. I would never be any freer than I was right then. It was my only chance before I was legally bound as well. And there I sat, fear turning me to stone. We're almost late. What do you need to talk about? He turned to me, his voice slightly tense from the time constraints and my sudden need for conversation. Otherwise, he was happy. His conscience was clear. His needs were met. He was certain this was what he wanted. Across the parking lot, Janelle waved and Alan reached out to me, pulling against his grandmother's hand. It seemed he could feel my divided mind, my indecision. In that moment, I could see what the next hours would hold for them if I left. Their confusion and terror, their hurt and loss of trust because I had left them. Even if I managed to come back, their lives would be forever impacted by their mother leaving without explanation. I had no other choice than to stay by his side. There was no turning back. He was looking at me, his eyes chilly, marble stillness in his features. Like any predator, he could smell my fear, and he knew I was about to flee. I stared motionless at my children in the distance. To stay or go, there was no action I could take that wouldn't have tragic repercussions. He got out of the car purposefully, moving to the passenger side door in what must have appeared to be the gallant move of a bridegroom handing his bride out of the car. No one saw him grab my rigid hands, his fingers digging into the soft flesh of my wrist. He pulled me out sharply and into his arms, the picture-perfect image of newlyweds, about to be newlyweds, embracing. His face close to mine, he looked into my eyes, and his smile was brutal and victorious. I was hypnotized, a frightened bird, immobilized by fate, his strength, and the need to protect my children. My body went limp. Feeling my defeat, his face softened. Once he knew I was his, he was gentle. Are you okay, Pat? Nervous? This is what you wanted, right? Everyone is waiting. It's a beautiful day. His voice was light and playful. The questions did not require answers. His hand on my elbow was strong and sure, holding me up and propelling me forward. The distance to the entrance seemed measured in miles, each step a hollow bell toll on the pavement. The sound vibrated my skin. These last free moments were pounded out in a mournful staccato rhythm. We passed through the automated doors, our procession following behind. As the doors snicked shut behind me, time sped up to science fiction warp of bright lights, voices, and restless children. Our wedding was the first this newly appointed judge had performed, and he rounded the bench to greet us with a handshake, his robes swishing proudly. It should have been a sign that our ceremony was held in the courtroom, not in the judge's private chambers. He chuckled that it was a welcome difference from the criminal cases he would hear later that day, cases filled with seriousness and a need for intervention. He didn't know that despite the trappings, this was as much a sentencing as celebration. We took our places. The words sped by in rapid-fire, emotionless repetition, each phrase a link in the chain he wanted me bound with. When the judge asked if anyone knew why these two shouldn't be wed, I waited, breathless in the silence, willing a hero to burst through the closed doors. But in the same way that I barely admitted it to myself, no one else knew I was in danger, in need of rescuing. The flash of bulbs recorded the plastered-on smile and overbright eyes of a decision and commitment made, the inner silence that would grow over the years already glazing my eyes. Perhaps it's like this for everyone, I thought. Anticipation and fear mixed with resolution topped by a pretty bow of romance. Maybe they just didn't talk about it. I was probably just being dramatic. Either way, it was over. There was no fight in me. I knew I would settle into captivity. Already, passivity engulfed me, like being immersed in heavy, warm fluid. The only movement I could manage was to push away the last resistance to my decision. Doubt provided no certainty. As we left the courthouse, I looked down at Alan holding my hand, Janelle skipping along beside us. Their new stepfather was carrying the document that sealed their fate to mine. Even if I feared for myself, they were now safe.